Finally, we have returned.
Deceived. And now your republic shall fall.
Is an MMO video game made by BioWare, EA, and produced by like LucasArts, now Lucasfilm. And basically what Star Wars The Old Republic is a sequel to the game Knights of the Old Republic, made by BioWare back in the day. And this is the sequel set 300 years after the events of the original KOTOR. Now, first off, what I like to say about The Old Republic, I played this game off and on for past like 5 years or so, and I have to say I really enjoyed the game. The one that I don't really care for the game is actually probably the most important thing about this game is actually the MMO element of Star Wars The Old Republic, or otherwise people call it SOTOR. Here's my problem with MMOs. I'm not crazy about them. I enjoy the single player game so much more, and that's really how I view Star Wars The Old Republic. It's a single player game. So what I want to talk about in this review is I want to talk about the 8 class stories of Star Wars The Old Republic. Break down the stories, what you should play, which ones you should probably avoid, and just enjoy it. I finally beat all 8 class stories. That's why I've been waiting on to actually post this video for a while. I started replaying the SOTOR games. I did like one part of the mission each time. So first off, let me break out of how the SOTOR missions all are set out to be. You have 8 classes. You have the Jedi Knight, you have the Jedi Counselor, you have the Smuggler, you have the Trooper. That's the light side. Then you have the dark side. You have the Sith Warrior, you have the Sith Inquisitor, you have the Imperial Agent, and you have the Bounty Hunter. That's the dark side, the Empire side. And really what these missions, each class mission, all are set up pretty awesome. You have 3 arcs in the, or what's known as Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Or Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And really, it really follows the tradition of the Star Wars original trilogy. In Episode 4, you have a really standalone story. Your character, Luke Skywalker and the bunch, they fight the Empire, and they win a victory. And then in Part 2, it's a little more darker. Something happens, and it really drives you into the next story. And that's really how the SOTOR class missions are all set up in story-wise. So let's talk about each of the class stories. And I'm going to give, it's going to be interesting. I want to do a rating for each class story. So the first story I'm going to talk about is the Jedi Knight. And really, what is a Jedi Knight story? It is your most fundamental Star Wars story. You start out as a Padawan, going to the planet Typhon. The Jedi Order have been really wiped out by the Sith Empire during the Great War. You start out as this Padawan who's really talented in the Force, and you must go off and become a Jedi. You become a Jedi and you fight against enemies like, I forget what his name was, but there's a Sith in the first part of the game who wants to wipe out the Republic. But then it later becomes, you're trying to defeat the Sith Emperor, who's like this man who's lived for over 1,000 years. And he's a really, truly evil character. It's really your most traditional Star Wars story. One of my favorite parts of the Star Wars, as you play the Jedi Knight, you're on Tatooine. And you're fighting this Sith character who you defeat in battle. And he's like, I have honor, I don't want to... He's like, come on, kill me. He's like, you have too much honor to be a Sith Warrior. That's right, you turn a Sith into a Jedi, pretty much. And that was actually pretty cool to see. I really did enjoy the Jedi Knight storyline. It was just a fun Star Wars story. If you like Star Wars, a Star Wars story, I think you would really like the Jedi Knight story. I'm going to give the Jedi Knight story an A. Let's go to the dark side. Let's talk about the Sith Warrior storyline. Now, the Sith Warrior was probably a really cool story as well. This is basically just like the Jedi Knight story was a story. You play the traditional Star Wars storyline about a young hero rising through the ranks of the Jedi. This time, you play as a guy who you're basically trying to be Darth Vader. You play under your master, Darth Vader, who is a rising figure in the Sith community. And you are his apprentice. You are pretty much the one wiping out his enemies, just like Darth Vader does with Palpatine in the original trilogy. And it's pretty cool, just the way you're talking. There's one thing I really liked about this story was the Jedi, where the Sith Warrior, you basically, in the Part 1 story, you're going at, the Part 1 storyline, you're going after your master's old rival in the Jedi. And you defeat this guy, and then there's his apprentice who is really talented. And you basically seduce her to the dark side. And that's really cool, like what Darth Vader was trying to do to Luke in Episode 5. Eventually the story becomes something different, where at the end of Part 2, your master betrays you, and you must go up against him to defeat him. And then you also become the Emperor's Wrath, which is really cool. The Sith Warrior storyline is a really fun to do because you can choke out your enemies, you can play as dark as you want, and that's really one thing I really liked about the Sith Warrior. You can be as evil as you want. A lot of my playthroughs, I don't like to be straight up evil, but my Sith Warrior, I love to be evil, and it's so much fun. I'm going to give the Sith Warriors. Also, there's some other cool companions. The one companion I really liked was Vet. She's a Twi'lek alien creature. And she's a really cool character. She's snarky. She's your slave. You can shock her. She's just a really cool character. I'm going to give this storyline an A-. And now let's talk about one of the character stories I didn't care for the most, and that was the Jedi Counselor. The Jedi Counselor. The Jedi Knight was probably the storyline more action adventure. The Jedi Counselor storyline is you're the character who you're trying to bring peace to the galaxy by going through diplomacy. The first part of your story is you're trying to protect the Jedi Order. You become the Barcinthor of the Jedi Order. But after the next two storylines, I hate it. To be perfectly honest, basically you're made a Jedi Master, and you are sent out to bring alliances through the Rift Alliance. It's just a really boring story. I just did not really care for it, to be perfectly honest. The one thing that made the storyline a little better was there was a twist at the end of the story that I really did not see coming. I was like, huh, he's the first son, the children of the Emperor. It was a really cool Empire Strikes Back twist to it that I really not see coming. Do I recommend this story? Not really. There are other stories better than this one. I'm going to give the Jedi Counselor a C. And now we move on to the Sith Inquisitor. Sith Inquisitor is you're basically rising the Palpatine road. You start out as this young apprentice to a corrupt Sith Lord that no one really likes. And you must rise your ranks all the way up to the Dark Council, who is like the next highest rank next to the Emperor. And basically what I like about this, you get to use Force Light. And Force Light is really cool. And you're just basically trying to find artifacts to increase your power base. It's a really cool storyline, I have to say. I really enjoy the Sith Inquisitor storyline. It's one of my favorite storylines. I think it's probably like my second favorite storyline of them all. I'm going to give the Sith Inquisitor storyline an A. And now let's move on to the characters that do not have the Force. First, we're talking about the Smuggler. The Smuggler was probably one of my favorite storylines as well. Now this storyline, you play the way like Han Solo plays. You're this snarky character. You make a bunch of quips. It's just a hilarious storyline. It's just so funny. Just some of the dialogue is great. You're trying to gain your fortune, and then you eventually help out the Republic. But what I really like about it is you're independent. One thing I did not care for, I wish the Smuggler storyline and the Bounty Hunter storyline was a little more neutral, where they could go from Empire to Republic. But I understand why they couldn't. It doesn't fit. But it would have been cool to have been able to play both sides. And there are elements where you can play both sides, but really you're really playing for the Republic side. And that's really the way to do it, because the Smuggler is all about freedom. The Empire enslaves people. So I am going to give the Smuggler an A-. Now let's talk about the Bounty Hunter storyline. Now, the Bounty Hunter storyline was the first character I ever played, my first playthrough through SoTour. Because one of my favorite characters always growing up was Boba Fett. He just looked like a really cool character. And one thing I really liked about the Bounty Hunter is you have all the toys at your disposal. You have the rocket launchers. You have a missile launcher. You have flamethrowers. You have a jetpack. You're just a cool character in this really badass armor. But really, the story falls apart for me. The first part, you're going through the Great Hunt to become a Mandalorian. And it really becomes a revenge plot. And in the second arc, you're one of the greatest hunters in the galaxy, and then it becomes a revenge story again. And I was really disappointed by the Bounty Hunter story, I won't lie. But there are some cool characters in the Bounty Hunter story that really redeems it. I think the Bounty Hunter probably has the best companions of all the Star Wars characters in the Old Republic. You have Bliss. He's like this little Jawa character who's just freaking awesome. Then you have Mako, a really cool splicer. There's just some cool characters in this. If you're not so into story but really like good companions, I recommend checking out the Bounty Hunter story. I am going to give the Bounty Hunter a B-. And then we move on to the final two characters. Next, we have the Trooper. Now, the Trooper storyline is you're basically a soldier for the Republic. You're just a soldier for the Squadron Havoc Squad, which is basically like Black Ops for the Republic military. You can be as honorable as you want, but you are not afraid to cross the line like a Jedi actually would. The Trooper was a lot of fun to play. Actually, some of the dialogue's pretty cool. The female voice actress was the voice actress for Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect series. I really enjoyed the Trooper storyline. It's a really straightforward storyline. You're basically an army. You're going after the Empire. That's really the storyline there. I'm going to give the Trooper storyline a B-. And then the final storyline, which is probably, this is my favorite storyline of the Star Wars The Old Republic characters, and that is the Imperial Agent. The Imperial Agent, you're basically James Bond of the Star Wars universe. You play a character who just started as a spy for Imperial Intelligence, the spy network of the Empire that really keeps the Empire together from all of the Sith playing their games. You're going after the Republic. You're going after threats in the Empire, and then you're going after something completely different. It is such a cool storyline. If you like intrigue, you like the James Bond movies, but mix it with Star Wars, I think you have a really great story here. This is my favorite storyline of the Star Wars The Old Republic. I'm going to give the Imperial Agent an A+. Those are my thoughts of the 8 character stories of Star Wars The Old Republic. The game in general, I really like playing. I still play it from now, timing it in. I am going to have another review of when I beat Knights of the Fallen Empire, the recent digital expansion to the Star Wars The Old Republic. I'll be looking forward to getting that out as soon as I can. But until next time, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button. Subscribe to see more. Tell your friends about Easy Nation. All too easy.